day. Because it's hump day and we have been talking about the round pen and when we should use it and when we shouldn't, I wanted to continue that theme into hump day. And quite often the round pen is used because the horse is bucking or being particularly fresh or something. So I want to talk about alternatives to all the different times when you might use the round pen, when it might be quite useful. And I want to talk about alternatives to that and how we could do the same thing but without having to use the round pen, and why indeed that might even be better. So to start with, there's one time that the round pen is really useful, and what I use it for most with young horses especially is to introduce them to negative reinforcement. So I'll put pressure on them, mostly just by standing there and perhaps getting a little bit closer to them, and that will be asking them to move forward. So as soon as they move forward, I back off, I remove that pressure, and the horse gets a release of the pressure. And so you can just use your body language as pressure in the round pen, and that is a really good introduction to the horse to negative reinforcement, and it makes the horse look for answers. So the horse goes, oh, okay, I'm feeling under pressure, she's getting closer, or she's looking at me, I'm going to do something, I'm going to move something, and then the pressure gets released. And that's how the horse is going to learn for the rest of his riding career. And I know, we talk a lot about negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement, but most horse training, those people that actually ride their horses, most of what they're doing is negative reinforcement, because you can't take away from the fact that you're using your seat and your legs and your hands as pressure cues, which are released when the horse has the desired response, which is all negative reinforcement. So the round pen is a nice, safe place to introduce that negative reinforcement to the horse, and I often do that. Let's say you don't have a round pen. How else might you introduce negative reinforcement to the horse? And there's a couple of things that you could do, especially for a horse that perhaps has really bad foundation training. So you're taking it back to the beginning, and you want to say, let's say the race horse, for example. You've got a race horse, and they often have been desensitized to bit pressure because they get so much bit pressure that it begins to mean nothing to them. And so you have to resensitize the horse to bit pressure. You have to teach it through negative reinforcement that if you pick up pressure on the rein, the horse moves something and you release the pressure. And so you can teach that really simply, and you don't need a round pen to teach that. You could just pop the bridle on the horse and teach it, give to the bit. And that's just picking up pressure on one rein, having the horse give slightly laterally and releasing that pressure. And before you know it, the horse goes, oh, the horse can even see you going to pick up pressure on the rein, and it gives already, and you don't even need the pressure. Really quickly, you could resensitize a horse that has been made hard in the mouth. Actually, it's not harder in the mouth than any other horse. It's just learned to ignore the pressure or put up with the pressure because it's been meaningless in the past. So you can resensitize your horse to bit pressure, and you don't need a round pen to do that. Another great little lesson that you can teach, which is easy to see, and it's something I've got either on the free training video series that's on there, and it's also in my free training tips on the website and the store. You could go and pick that up. And it's hips to the fence, which is just teaching your horse to stand by the mounting block or by the fence quietly while you get on. And that's a great lesson for teaching the horse about negative reinforcement, because the cue for that is to tap the horse lightly on the hip, and the hip actually moves towards you so that it stands up next to you at the mounting block. And very quickly you'll find you probably only need to tap your horse a few times on the hip, because very quickly the horse learns that pattern and he's learned that if he moves, you stop tapping him. And so very quickly you can point at his hip, or you can click your fingers. I get the cue to clicking my fingers really fast so that the horse comes straight to the mounting block. And then the horse learns that pattern so well that you get up on the mounting block and the horse comes straight to you and gets up on the mounting block. And so it's great. It's another way of really perfecting your negative reinforcement technique, because we always say about, it's not the pressure that you put the horse under, it's the release. The horse learns from the release. And so if your timing is good, your horse will learn really easily, and your horse will be happy to learn. If your timing is bad, not so much. So another reason we use a round pen that we could probably find a better thing to do with the horse is when the horse is really fresh. So perhaps you haven't ridden for a few weeks and you're a bit worried, you know, it could be a buck or two in that horse. Pop it in the round pen, go around a few laps and see what happens. Well, I think there's a better alternative to that. I think we must remember, having just discussed as well, horses are great pattern learners. And so they will learn that pattern pretty quickly. The first thing you do, someone puts a saddle on you, they let you loose, you have a good old buck, and then you go for a ride. So next time, if you can't do the round pen bit, then your horse might do the bucking bit anyway. So what I would do in that case is teach the horse to long rein. Now, long reining is much better than lunging because you've got hold of both reins in your hands. There's no side reins or anything, but the horse travels in frame and is soft in the bridle, and you can feel that in both hands. So the horse isn't forced into a position at all. And in that position where the horse is relaxed, because it starts with relaxation, relaxed and round and soft in the bridle, it's actually very difficult for the horse to buck like that, and much easier for the horse to buck if you've just got it on the end of a line, one lunge line. So perhaps also you might use the round pen if your horse has been naughty. We'll talk about naughty, whole different subject. So first of all, I think what you've got to do is work out why you would use the round pen if you consider your horse to have been naughty. I'm sure your horse hasn't really been naughty, but we'll talk about that some other time. And if you are doing that, let's say your horse bucked and you considered that naughty, so you put it in the round pen. Really, what you're doing there is probably punishing the horse. So you're probably going to run it around and around the round pen for doing the naughty thing, which the horse sadly is not going to take anything away from other than you chase it. So I think it's poor use of your time, the horse's energy, and the horse's trust, I think. So work out why it was naughty and or why it barked or did whatever it did and address that. I think that would be much more productive. And the other thing we do often is teach liberty work in there, because it is much easier to teach liberty work in the round pen because the horse can't go so far. You know, if you put the horse under too much pressure by mistake, it might break into canter from trot, but it's not going to be in the next county by the time you catch it. So very handy for that. If you want to teach liberty work and you don't have a round pen, then I suggest you just put the horse on a lunge line and do it like that. So what happens in general when we stop using the round pen? So if we use less round pen, you'll find with all of those examples, we have less emotion, like the horse will be less emotional. We have less chasing. We're not going to be able to chase the horse as much, especially in that liberty section. Less fear. The horse will be less fearful, and the horse is less likely to exercise its flight response. All really good things. So all really good reasons to find an alternative to using the round pen. And that's not to say that you shouldn't use the round pen. The round pen, as we discussed yesterday, is a great classroom if it's used like a classroom, and there are lots and lots of things that are better to do in the round pen, like learning to canter, learning to long line, all of those sorts of things are great in the round pen. But don't feel you need to use one if you're starting your own horse, because that's certainly also not true. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow with Throwback Thursday. Looking forward to that. Bye.